What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for a brand new episode here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays. We are jumping back in on the MegaManX second armor figure model today, guys, and I'm really excited to see what we can do. So let's go ahead and dive on in and get this party started. So last episode, we worked on the torso. We've got the hips, the midriff, and also the chest done, painted. We've got some wires coming up in there for power. Last episode before that, we went ahead and hooked in the LEDs into the helmet, and we've got the wires for those hanging down the back of his helmet. And today, we have to go ahead and hook all these up, make those connections, and add in his right and left arms, which is going to be interesting because I also want to go ahead and add in the buster cannon on the left arm and throw an LED in the tip of that. So we've got some work ahead of us for sure. Now, looking at the instructions, we can see the arms don't look all that complicated. Like any Bandai kit or any sort of Gundam or whatnot, they go together very well. There's a bunch of different sub-assemblies that all kind of form together to make one arm. Then we just go ahead and repeat the process for the other arm. We are going to go ahead and change out the forearm on the left arm because we need to go ahead and put in the buster cannon, and I want to figure out how to put two wires in there to go ahead and pop an LED in the very tip of it. So let's go ahead and jump into our first time lapse here, and we're going to go ahead and dry fit all the parts and pieces for all the sub-assemblies. Once we kind of get that lined up, we can come on back and continue on from there. But first, we got to figure out how this all goes together. So let's go ahead and jump into that time lapse, guys. Start doing some test fitting. Alright, everybody, we are back, and so far so good. The right and the left arms all fit together beautifully. I did put the buster cannon in place of the left forearm, so we have that kind of straightened out. Now we're going to go ahead and build up the right arm as well. I plan on going with just a plain fist for that right arm, and for the left arm, I've got the buster cannon, which I'll throw that LED in the very tip of it. So that's going to be kind of fun to go ahead and do. I also have a good idea how to put some wires through there, but I need a little bit more information on that, so we'll do that a little bit later. My one gripe, though, regarding the buster cannon is that they actually give you a solid piece of plastic for the very tip of this. You can't really light a solid piece of plastic. It's just not going to work. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to lose this part completely. I'm going to pop that out, and I'm going to replace it with an alternate part we have here in the kit. Now, if you know anything about MegaManX, you know that his partner is known as Zero. So you have X and you have Zero. This kit comes with Zero's buster cannon. The nice thing about that is the insert is clear. As you can see here, it is actually clear red, so not necessarily the right color, but we might be able to go ahead and figure that out because this 3mm flat top LED fits right up in the back of that, and will actually have a beautifully snug fit with just a little bit of sanding. It illuminates the entire crystal here in the end of the buster cannon, so I want to go ahead and push on and see what I can do with this clear part. I think that's going to give it the most impact, and again, it's another light source that I can light that'll draw some attention to the model. So let's go ahead and jump into our next time lapse, and I want to go ahead and start doing some wiring. I'm going to wire up with some magnet wire the positive and negative leads here on the LED. I'm going to go ahead and start drilling some holes through the different parts and pieces, such as the forearms and the joints, the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. I want to make sure I can go ahead and get 2 magnet wires from the end of the forearm all the way up to inside the torso. So that's going to take a little bit of clever work, drilling, and some patience. So let's go ahead and get back into that time lapse, guys. Let's push on. I think we're on the right track. Let's see what we can do. All right, so that went beautifully. We were able to go ahead and string in 2 magnet wires from the very tip of the LED all the way through the arm, the forearms, up into the shoulders, and then into the torso. So that is excellent. As you can see, I'm just kind of putting it all back together here and figuring out exactly if these wires are going to kink or going to get caught on anything. And so far, no, I think we're actually pretty much in the clear. So that's excellent. It does take a little bit of finagling to go ahead and get these wires into the different holes I drilled out. But the nice thing about the magnet wire is that it's so thin and it's so small, it doesn't take much effort to go ahead and hide it conveniently up inside the joints. It'll fit perfectly. A couple of holes here and there, and you are good to go. But now we're going to have to go ahead and move over to painting. That's the next big thing. I'm going to go ahead and prime all the parts and pieces with Mr. Surfacer. I'm going to paint all the individual parts with their appropriate colors, all the yellows together, all the whites, all the reds, all the grays, and of course all the blues and the light blues. All of those I'm going to paint separately so that we have everything dialed in. And then all I have to do is come back and assemble everything and make sure it works. So this is going to be a little tricky, but I think we're on the right track and it should actually work out pretty well. So let's go ahead and dive on in there, guys. I've got my primer ready to go. I've got all my colors ready and we're going to prime, we're going to paint, we're going to assemble everything. Then we'll be back and I'll show you guys how it looks. We'll talk a little bit about the final wiring stages and get this thing all nicely lit up. So let's keep pushing. We are getting there, guys. A couple more time lapses to go. We'll be done for the day and hopefully it'll set us up beautifully for next episode. So we are back, everybody, and I went ahead and took the liberty of fixing up a couple of seams, painting everything, priming everything, and we have now assembled the right and the left arm. They look pretty good. I really like the colors I've chosen. I'm using Tamiya paint, so it all went on beautifully. As you can see here, this is the Buster Cannon side, and we have our 2 magnet wires hanging out the top of it, which will eventually fit right into the side of the torso. Now, when going ahead and plugging these all together, I had initially thought about making our connections there in the torso, but there's not a lot of room in there. I'm still going to try it, but I'm thinking if they don't fit, I'm going to have to go ahead and reimagine how to get the power up to these LEDs. So let's go ahead and jump back into the time lapse. Go ahead and wire up the final connections for the helmet, for the torso, for the main power, and then of course for the Buster Cannon. So let's keep it going, guys. Last little stretch. We're almost done. We'll be back and we'll see how it turned out. Alright everybody, so we are back and MegaManX is coming along beautifully. As you can see, we have half of him built. We've got our arms on, we've got our Buster Cannon installed with our LEDs, we've got all the connections made. This is honestly a really fun project. We did end up taking away that solid green part like I mentioned before. We didn't use that. We went ahead and used Zero's Buster Cannon Crystal, overpainted with some clear green. I'm going to have to give it maybe 1 or 2 more coats of clear green just to make sure that it has a nice uniform tint to the color. But so far, we've got all our connections made up there in the neck. We've got our power cables in there and everything works. Get you a quick zoom in here. As you can see, we've got our crystals there glued into the ears and into the head. We've got our Buster Cannon lit up as well. Give you a real quick test light. As you can see, we've got the green on the Buster Cannon, which needs a couple more coats. Got our helmet crystals all lit up as well. This is turning out to be a really fun little project. And hopefully the power cables are going to fit beautifully through the legs. I'm just assuming I can get them to work. We do have a little bit of an issue with the neck though, because a few episodes ago when I was working on the head area, I accidentally snapped off that ball and socket joint. So his neck doesn't really clip into anything, but it does have so much tension in there because of the wires that it doesn't really move around all that much. And I think if I drop a little bit of super glue in there when I figure out the pose, I can lock his head into place and it'll be fine. But that is it for us today, guys. We are really moving forward. I'm loving this model so far, and we're going to go ahead and call it quits for today. But until our next episode, guys, thank you so much for joining us. You know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on episode 5 of MegaManX Second Armor Edition here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.